know your mind can't go back, but mine does. We were poor back. We were poor, and Bay County was poor. Yes, sir.
I remember when they finally started to get electricity in, they started with the white community. And we would sit on our porch at night and look, and we see all the white community lit up. And we were like in the darkness. And we finally got electric lights. I got many whippings because I would sit up and turn the light on. And and my grandparents would come in and tell me to turn it off. The black children who attended school at that time were not part of the Bay District schools. And the school was only 4 months of a year. And the reason for that is because the children would work with their parents. They would work in the fields, they work in the fishing industry to help supplement the families.
We had no certified teachers in Bay County, black. So people who had finished 10th grade or high school were employed as teachers. They would come down from Tallahassee, Pensacola, Jacksonville, what have you, and live with the parents of the children Monday through Friday, and they'd go back home.
All the schools were held in homes, army barracks, or in churches. So we needed a permanent place.
There was an old dilapidated building. It was used for storage by the sawmill that was before the paper mill. And some of the black elders contacted people at the sawmill to possibly convert that building to a school.
It was a requirement that the black community contribute to the funding of Rosenwald schools. So they sold fish and did whatever they had to do so their kids could get an education.
You know, they were diplomats and they didn't realize it, but they worked those white people like you would work the dirt. And they were able to achieve some things, not boasting and not daring, not threatening.
And that is when Mr. Grady said, you know, I keep hearing about this Rosenwald Fund. It was set up in 1917 by Julius Rosenwald, who was also a business partner of Sears and Roebuck. He was Jewish, and he had this vision. He said that every child should be able to get an education, regardless of their race, creed, or color. So Mr. Grady said, you know, I'm going to contact them and apply and see if we can get some funds from them to help build the school. And it was granted. A lot of people were wondering, why was it called Rosenwald? Why did you name it after George Washington Carver, Sojourner Truth, or Harriet Tubman, or somebody like that? But Rosenwald wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for Julius Rosenwald.
And when I went to Rosenwald, I was a total of 5 years old. There was no transportation. We had no cars. There was no city bus, no county transportation. So we walked. We lived on Central Avenue, which was the last black street in Springfield, Bay Harbor. And the kids on the other side of the highway would walk down to our street, and we would congregate there and walk over to East Avenue, down East Avenue to 98, down 98 to Redwood Avenue, and into Panama High School.
We did not have a lot of paved streets. We had outhouses. I think I was in the 8th grade before we got an indoor toilet. And I got in trouble again because I used to like to flush it and wash the water to go down. It was not known, but if you did not have a place to take a bath or a shower, some of the teachers would let you, especially the coaches like Chester Bird and Coach Stevens, would allow the parents to let their kids come out to Rosenwald to take a bath.
Miss Long was my overall favorite teacher.
Yeah.
And I guess because of her meticulousness about everything, she would call my name. She wouldn't call me Mary Ann. She would call me Mary Annie. One of the few people back in the day that called me by my name, because if it was written, she said it right.
I mean, she did not let us get away with anything. If we mispronounced a noun,
Left off an S.
we got, the ruler was coming out.
Oh, yes.
And I was so
Right,
particular
yeah.
in her class not to do that until one day I can't remember what it was, whether I mispronounced something, but whatever it was, I got the ruler. And that hurt my heart because I thought it was her favorite.
We were all her favorites.
We were all her favorite.
In 8th grade, I know I was a very poor reader, very poor. Miss Young, which was the meanest teacher I ever known in my life, she asked me that I wanted her to teach me how to read. And when I told it to my mother, she said, "You mean that lady that's so mean?"
Okay.
But she taught me to read. So
Right.
she still ain't my favorite though.
There were teachers, Miss Hicks, Miss Aiken, Miss Cooper, who were older people, older women, and they had lived through some of the stress that we were going through. This is what I'm saying now. And they would always have a piece of cake or maybe an extra chicken leg or something, and they would share it with you. It seemed to me that they showed a lot of care besides teaching and learning. They taught care for me as a person.
We used to get books from Bay High when they got new books, and the teachers would go over there and load up and bring the old books over to us at Rosenwald. A lot of them, the pages were missing. Some where whole chapters were torn out. We had a mimeograph machine. Some of you young people that don't know what that is. They would type up the chapters out of the textbooks, run them off on a mimeograph sheet, and pass them out in the classroom. That was our textbook. I didn't get my first textbook until I was in 11th grade. I was so, I remember that till this day. This is Miss Odessa James. And she said, "Guess what I got? I have some new textbooks." We thought it was a joke because we didn't know that we were getting new textbooks. And so when I got mine, first thing I do is open it and look at it to see if there were other names in there, because every textbook I had, somebody had written their name and had written graffiti. And I looked, I said, wow, I was so excited. That was the first book that I could actually write my name in. I was so happy. I ran all the way home to show my mom my new textbook. That was probably one of the things that I remember most about going to Rosenwald.
And we had one little set of test tubes like this, and another little set of test tubes like that. And we had fun putting water in these things, pretending that they were chemicals. You know what I'm saying? We had no chemicals. We had water or maybe a Coca-Cola we put in a color. And we just had fun learning back then. It was not a chore.
There was wild huckleberries. And we used to come from school. I used to go over there and pick the wild huckleberries and eat them. And one day I was out there, went around the bush, and I saw this little white boy. And I started talking to him. And he said, "What's your name?" I told him, I said, "My name is Matthew." And he said, I said, "What's your name?" "David." And we became friends because he liked wild huckleberries and I did too. We were innocent. So he said, "Okay, we're going to go downtown to the theater." So the bus came, and the bus driver said, "Hey, you can't do that." I said, "I'm just going to sit down." He said, "No, you have to get off the bus and go back to the back of the bus." And so David said, "Okay, we're both going to the back." And we got down and we went into the movie. And they stopped me again. "He can go in there, but you have to go upstairs." And so David said, can I go upstairs with him? He said, yeah, if you want to go up there with them N-words, he used the N-word, you can go up there, but he can't go in here. I mean, we were kind of like a spectacle. Here I'm coming in with this little white boy. And when I went back home, my mom was standing on the porch. She said, you okay? She said, I told you not to go down there and start no trouble. I said, I didn't do anything. That was my first overt experience with racism.
You knew your place and you stayed in your place. If you were white, you had freedom of everything. But if you were black, you couldn't go to certain places. You couldn't do certain things.
When they saw me or saw any black student, they saw a black student first. They saw a criminal. They saw a bad person. You had to prove that you were somebody. You know, that's where that term comes from. I am somebody, because you were not seen.
You people don't know. And I hope you appreciate the sacrifices, not boisterous, not fighting, fussing. Because when we would walk from 98 up to East Avenue, down to Sherman Avenue, from Sherman Avenue over to where 80 Harris is, they would cuss at us. They would call us all kind of names. They would get up to the one and turn up the butt to us. The bus drivers, they didn't, your children wouldn't stand that now. They would stop that bus and start a fight. But we stayed on that bus, and we went. They stayed on that bus, and we stayed on the street walking. And sometimes, like William Brown and Lester, his brother, they'd laugh at him and keep on pedaling. Yes, sir. I think so many times, and I'm not trying to be anything extra, but there's certain portions of the Holy Scripture that comes to mind. He said, Father, forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. And that's just the way I feel right now, because I know there's so many times when I have been misused and misconstrued.
We were better off before we were desegregated. Growing up in an all-black school, around teachers who were in our community, we didn't just see them at school. We saw them at church, we saw them in the supermarket. They knew our parents. A couple of my teachers actually taught my mother. And we had a community as well as a school.
And I'm so happy that you said that, Marianne, about the segregation. I don't think, and this is just my opinion, that it was Martin Luther King's intent to have us to be together to do everything. We wanted equal opportunity.
Yes.
We wanted the same books that they had.
Yes.
It wasn't that we couldn't do what they were doing, but we did not have the opportunity.
We didn't have sufficient reading material compared to the other schools, and we wanted the same thing that everybody else had. You know, that's all we wanted.
And you know, and I also need to say this, it's not a brag to talk about coming from a segregated school and then you became a doctor or a lawyer. It is a blessing, and that you survived and you have your own home and your children, because we don't have that now. We have all the technology, we have so many things, but yet there's still students who don't know how to read. But you know how to read. Everybody here knows how to read.
You know, Rosenwald existed in a time when the community had to be self-contained, and we had to take care of each other and look out for our needs. And as one who is a first-generation college student, I take my calling, if you will, from the generation of educators before me who knew that they did not get educated for themselves, but they had a commitment to come back and teach.
Into the future generation, that might think that because it was an all-black school, that we didn't get the foundation that we needed. In my opinion, we got what we needed to go out into the world. So I would say to them also that when you have love and compassion and forgiveness, you have to have forgiveness. And that was something that I learned along the way. I didn't always know that you had to forgive, and you have to let the past be in the past.
I would say to future generations is that while we talk about our school and the fact that it was all black, it wasn't the blackness. It was the community. And I say that because a lot of things now are going back to all black. It's not about the blackness. It's about the community, the communication, the love, the caring, which can be across any ethnicity or race if those things are in place. So for the younger generation, I would say look for substance. Look for where you can learn and grow and receive what we received at Rosenwald.
I just would like for the community, for the older people, the mothers and grandmothers and great grandmothers and stuff, to talk to their children and tell them about their personal history.
But other than that, I love you guys.
We love you too.